Welcome to Valley Strange, episode number 12. On this particular episode, we're going to be talking about part 2, chapters 6 through 10 of the 12th planet.
Again.
Zecharia, Sitchin.
Ah, there you go.
Got it right this time, I think.
You self-corrected.
Yeah. So, as your host, my name is Ray, and then beside me I have...
I'm going to try to see about stuttering my way through this. This is Roland.
And in the Pacific Northwest studios, I hope your staff has treated you better this time, Daniel.
Yeah, we're adequately supplied. They didn't spend too much on beer for this episode. They got Founders All Day back in, I appreciated the local craft brew, but, I want to drink, 12, 13 beers throughout the day, and I just can't do that with, other beers now. I'm getting older, slowing down or something. But speaking of beer, it occurred to me that I should have waited to open my beer as who this is. Darkwing Drunk. But this is Daniel, dudes. What's up?
All right. So with a bit of hesitation, as always, going through this book, we're about to get started. So just to give a bit of a recap on some of the points from our previous episode, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. Chapters 1 through 5. So basically we have Zecharia Sitchin proposing his theory about aliens or other beings from not Earth coming to Earth to give information. Actually, they pretty much settle here for a while.
Right, and they're responsible for the...
man hasn't even really come about yet.
That's right,
It's all still because we're talking...
realm of the gods.
That Sitchin proposes that the Nephilim, as they're later referred to regularly as, and we'll probably get into that distinction here in a little bit, because there is that whole... And I think we got to that in the first episode, discussing the multiple permutations of the usage of Nephilim, referred to the giants in the Bible, and then there's different slight takes, but they still use the same word on it. But the Nephilim, for reasons we'll get into, or Sitchin gets into that we'll discuss here in a bit, decide to set up shop on planet Earth.
Right. Yep. We haven't gotten fully into why they're doing it. We just know that they are doing it.
And I mean, at this point, now there is Sitchin. Yes,
and Sitchin in chapter 2 of the book pretty much lists reasons why. Again, this is just the beginning of why he thinks this is the case. So we do have the sudden civilization, which is chapter 2.
He lists a number of inventions and discoveries.
Agricultural, monetary.
And sorry, I forgot one little point. Sitchin proposed that the Nephilim landed on Earth 4.5 million years ago, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. So this is way pre-people.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so there was reasons for.
So basically, speculation. One sentence, I think, is the almost impossibility, but he talked about how it's incredibly improbable that Homo sapiens should have developed as fast as we should have.
Right. Considering
looking on an evolutionary scale.
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Concerning the previous
scale. And suggests that it was accelerated by something.
Right.
An outside influence.
And this is also because we don't have any written record prior to this civilization. I mean, there probably could have been. It could have been destroyed. Who knows? But as of right now, we only have written record of the advancement of this particular civilization.
Right. Actually, it was just the first bit was just the people coming about. And then in the following chapters, he traces mythology, because he just kind of takes us, a little trip through time, going backwards a step.
Backwards.
Goes,
from
we thought initially the Greeks were the first civilization.
Right.
Then he talks about them. And then he goes, okay, now the Egyptians.
Right.
And then we go, okay, now we have the Assyrians, and then the Babylonians, and then the Sumerians. And then in the next chapter where he talks about the various religious pantheons, he kind of takes us through the same little trip through time where he's like, okay, the Greeks had these figures, and then we see these same figures in Egypt, and where's the source? Sumeria. Mm-hmm. So he argues that this is the first civilization. We'll get into discussions of that in our kind of tie it all together episode, which will be coming out probably sometime in November, I assume, since October is supposed to be busy for MoQuest Studios. Anyway,
so he's tying together, like you said, all of the mythology.
Yeah, he's just making the case that Sumeria is the first civilization.
For his main case being
and
that
then he refers to it as the sudden civilization because all of a sudden there's all these cities and
the reason he
crazy levels of bureaucracy and artwork and yada yada yada, and they're all over the place in this area, and then he ties it back where he goes like, and look how influential they are because even today we still have vestiges of the ways that the Sumerians made sense of their world. 12-hour day or 24-hour days,
right? The calendars,
12 months, da 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 da. Mm-hmm. So he's just saying, this. So all signs point to early civilization. We have no other earlier links that we know of. And these guys were so goddamn dope that they're still ingrained in the way we order our world.
Yeah, in society.
And I think that's fascinating.
It is.
Yeah, but Sitchin is saying that they couldn't have done it on their own. They needed assistance.
And the way he goes about, learning about this through the different mythologies, through different religions, is that he takes a literal approach to them. He flat out says, well, what do we just tie all these stories together by taking them at face value?
It's no longer a myth. It's not literal accounts.
Right. These things are historical. This
is what
events.
happened.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to start off this next episode by talking about chapter 6, which is called The 12th Planet. Roland, would you like to read your particular summary?
Okay. Yeah. So this is, again, where he starts to go into his, the meat of his ideas. 12th Planet specifically refers to the realm of the Nephilim themselves. I have a little... blurb, a little preface about it. This chapter summarizes a brief history of the development of systems of astronomy that were used by early civilizations and how they surprisingly correlate very closely to the modern systems used today to describe and organize the stars, the constellations, and planets. Sitchin postulates that due to a lack of technology and advanced mathematics, there is no way that Sumerians, for example, should be able to know the relatively exact degree and distances between celestial bodies. He submits that they would not even have a use for this knowledge, as it is in their wheelhouse, in their existence. Why should they need to understand?
And they wouldn't even also be able to see these things.
Yeah, exactly. These are things that are supposedly on their beyond their capabilities, their purview, their literal purview. They couldn't see this stuff. Why do they not? Why do they think that the world is a sphere? Why is it that they didn't think like what everyone else understood it as with the idea of geocentrism?
Did we talk about
why isn't it a flat
law
planet?
In the last episode?
No, that is actually.
Does that come up in this chapter?
Yeah.
I just can't remember. It all kind of blurs together a little
it's
bit.
In there. He
and just to kind of add to that point, roll about all this, these calculations the Sumerians couldn't have possibly figured out, but. Yeah. Apparently they had the knowledge of the modern day equivalent of Bode's law, which is, basically is math that is used to predict where
the stars are, where planets should be,
and so on and so forth.
It's all mathematical, which supposedly further supports the idea that this information was given to them, not discovered, because they don't have. One
thing that's cool is that
any way to see or determine that.
Say the Anunnaki didn't give this information to the little humans, that the astronomy of the Sumerians was more accurate than our astronomy, actually, because I did some reading up on Bode's law, and it's pretty much correct, except it missed. It didn't correctly predict, I think, like the orbit of Neptune or something like that. Whereas the Sumerians, via the Nephilim or whatever, had a lock on this.
Yeah, they had all of that. I'm trying to find it in here where he does go into mentioning Bode's law at some point.
Yeah,
I think it was in chapter 6. But anyway,
it's just a little aside. But yeah, you should probably just continue with your little.
I was pretty much finishing.
It was just I was just trying to add like a little like specific example from the book where it's like the Sumerians were like just to demonstrate like the scope of the knowledge that they were purported to have.
Right.
That it was in fact actually better than ours.
Right. Yeah. It was better than ours, and I think he does directly reference a few of the. Cultures that came after the Sumerians as having inferior, specifically inferior methods of well, not methods, but the information in their astronomies, in their star charts and whatnot, was not as advanced. I'm still getting annoyed with that Bode stuff that I was looking at here. But anyways, yeah. So he just mentions all this to. Again, refer to the fact that this information was given to them.
Inaccessible, really.
So
through the means that the Sumerians had.
I mean, not to necessarily
and they had to have that information provided to them.
It sort of makes me think of the idea of when the people in the time of I guess when all of the old world cultures came over and settled into the new world, and how they made their observations about the Native Americans and Native peoples here, and they fell into that stereotype of the primitive man, the savage native or whatever, thinking that like these folks aren't able to understand.
Where are you going with this?
No, it's a parallel to me that like Sitchin sort of makes this assumption with the Sumerians that like they're not able to.
Well, Roland and I think I brought it up because Roland was talking about, like the Sitchin is talking about the Sumerians and how they're not capable. They weren't capable of
coming to
this knowledge themselves.
But his reasoning to that is that like why would they even need this information to?
Yes, but like, I mean, there's also
I can understand that, but
I kind of made
think it's a logic trap
to like the folks from the New World coming over to the Americas and
settling and saying that they were bringing civilization to the natives,
right? And yet they had like advanced mathematical,
right? Yes, the Native Americans were not stupid. They were fucking very intelligent. They had their own.
Oh, right. And I think that Sitchin also kind of does this when he. Because I don't know like how like with his shitty recreations of these graphics that he's working off of.
Yeah.
They're really they're crudely done. And I don't know enough about like Mesopotamian archaeology and like their iconography and some of their like styles and so forth to go, oh, that's reminiscent of like this time period or whatever.
Because unfortunately he does not cite even where the
because it's like okay, are these like little crude representations of what's going on in the cosmos done by children, like intellectually to the Anunnaki, if that makes any fucking sense.
Yes, actually. I mean, I would obviously expect the Anunnaki to have a somewhat different.
So it's like, yes, like that completely whole colonial mindset of like we're bringing civilization to the natives or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Yes. I mean, they do use pictorial, I guess, representations.
But I have a problem with that because if these gods did make Adapa the first man and taught him all that stuff, then why? Like, how could possibly these humans fuck it up? They're getting it right from the mouths of the gods themselves. But, oh, wait. All we have are these shitty recreations, generally not from Sumeria, but from fucking the library at Nineveh, which was fucking Assyrian, which was fucking way later. And then showing all these representations of shit from fucking Babylon, which like this is all fine. Like it really is, but he never fucking just goes out and says, here's this fucking, weird little tiny little fragment that we have from Sumeria, and let me show it to you, and then go side by side with something from, the found in Nineveh or whatever, and go, okay, we have way more of this thing from Assyria, but like way more of like the artifact or whatever, like tablet or whatever. But, iconographically and here are these correlates. And if he had done that like fucking once in this entire book, rather than taking his wink, wink, trust me on the Sumerians, I read this stuff myself.
Yeah.
Like it's just, it bothers me because he does great homework with everybody but the Sumerians.
Well, that would be because like he's only resorting to the tablets themselves that are not complete. So I mean, he has to make all these assumptions. He never goes like, here's a side by side. Like he just he goes through all this stuff on Babylon, and he's like, yeah, Sumerians are down with that too. And there's something in a follow-up in the tie-in episode when it came to his treatment of the Babylonian New Year festival, and then trying to retroactively apply that to the way the Sumerians approached it
to the Book of Genesis, pretty much.
The scholars that disagree weren't like talked about, of course, in Sitchin, because he also like will just talk about scholars will agree. Or some scholars don't dig this, but he doesn't say like who they are or what their arguments are. He was like, they say this is nonsense, or he'll bring up one little like straw man, scenario. And he's like, they're wrong. It's incredibly annoying. Like this book gets more frustrating the deeper I look into it.
Let's continue on to the frustration of still at chapter 6. Is that he has proposed. We summarized it a little bit of what he's talking about in this chapter, and one of the things that stood out was that he goes into like a deep discussion on the methods of measurement that
are used. Actually, it's in this chapter, which it's relevant to it. He gives us a little history lesson before he gets into some of his earlier correlates, but he's talking about more recent historical developments in astronomical thought. So talking about like Copernicus.
Right.
And fucking Sitchin. Yeah. Okay. So I've got a couple things underlined, so I need to like just reread them real quick and try to make sense of this. Here we go. So, Copernicus depended on mathematical calculations and searched for the answers in ancient writings. So like, those is like a little bit sentence, but he started with like Columbus and then moved to Magellan and, it's not flat, but round.
Right.
And then he goes into talking about Copernicus. Then further down, he says, while some have called Copernicus the father of modern astronomies, others view him more as a researcher and reconstructor.
That's just
he's
straight
just jerking
Sitchin.
himself off so hard there.
I'm
Copernicus. Crucify me as well. Like fuck you, Sitchin.
I have that
is
noted
that
as
he
well.
pored over writings of Greek astronomers who preceded Ptolemy, such as Dickhead, and Dickhead of Dickhead.
Yeah.
Then.
So like he goes on to say about
how the heliocentric concept was only rediscovered by Copernicus.
Yeah. So like I was talking to Ray about that. If you look in the book, it's italicized that they in there he wrote that they rediscovered. And it's like,
because another point you brought up too, Roland.
He's being snarky. On his without indirectly.
I'm surprised he never said
very passive aggressive.
I depend on the Old Testament for my analysis, but even Jesus or something like that,
Right. Yeah. So
told the truth as I've tried to do or something like that.
So like that's okay. This all ties in again to like his belief, because the way he explains the how the Sumerians understand their astronomy is that is actually not necessarily directly through them. I think it's through one of the following cultures that believes that the planet is flat, and looks like he tries to go back.
Well, he starts with
is it it's not the Babylonians? I don't think it was.
No, well,
I think it was like the Akkadians.
Put off with after Copernicus goes, indeed, scholars are now hard put to explain why first and later Greeks and then the Romans assumed that Earth was flat.
Yeah, right. And then
but then he attaches figure 91, which is of
Atlas holding up the Earth.
Yeah, of Atlas holding up the sphere.
The heavens.
And it's like, well, if they thought it was flat, why would they depict the constellations on it in a spherical thing on the back?
Yeah,
of
again,
a
like his
figure,
his literal approach to everything. So the
he's
reason he,
back,
yeah, go ahead.
Scholars have been incorrect in trying to explain away, spherical things with the flat Earth concept that these earlier groups of folks allegedly,
yes,
maintained in their belief system.
They misunderstood it. And he points to one specific thing that I can see there, and apparently, and we mentioned before we were recording the astrolabe that is discovered that apparently describes the planisphere. And
which was like one of the earlier researchers I was looking at was called it one of the most mysterious tablets from Mesopotamia or whatever.
Right. Trying to find
let's get into the astrolabe
thing. Yeah, so the astrolabe, describes a planisphere, which is to say a flat representation of a sphere. He goes into specific degrees, because each of the sections of the astrolabe, it's I believe it's separated into 3 rings, and each ring has a section of the stars on that, and each of those star sections has a number ascribed to it. And as it turns out, each of those numbers are from, I believe they're multiples of 30. And on this astrolabe, you're able to find a true north and a true south, those north and south poles. When you follow the numbers along each of these rings and each of their locations, they all add up to 360 degrees. And there's no way that they could have that.
Triangular quadrants broken into 45 degrees.
Right, yes. The quadrants are 45. And each of those are further separated, I guess, into their own, what does he call them? I think he calls them houses, where each, that's another.
The way, so it's the way of Enlil,
right,
the way of Enki, and the way of whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the 3 bands of the heavens, or
right,
whatever.
Which is actually used in modern astronomy.
The way of Anu. There you go. That was the last one.
Yeah, and it's used in modern astronomy where there's 3 sections. There's the uppermost, the middle, and then the bottom. And just more information more things to use that he points out to infer that the Sumerians actually were aware of the planet being spherical. So, I mean, I agree with it for the most part. It's very sort of, again, to me, very convenient that he has this one smoking gun, this one fucking keystone that is able to build up his entire, theory verse or whatever that he's going with here. It's a good one, I think, if it's to be believed. I'm trying to find the fucking figure of it. I know there's one here that. I think it's 94. Yeah,
figure 94.
Yeah. Here we go. It just looks like a giant pie, but it's got each of the 3 rings in there, and each section is
unequal distribution of pepperoni. It's pretty sad.
It's I prefer my pizza square, but hey, whatever. Yeah, each section is ascribed to a different deity, and that's 3 rings of those. And I think this goes on to 1, 2, 6. Yeah, so each ring is separated by 12 sections, and so that is going to be one of the thematic motifs that he's going to be focusing on.
Yeah, recurring numbers.
Right.
7 as well comes up a bunch. 4 as well.
Right.
But not in such force as 12 and 7.
Yeah, as 12 and 7.
We'll
12
get into
being
that. But 12 and 7 are the big ones.
Yeah, there's supposedly just a ton of ascription, I guess, to the number 12, not just within the Sumerians. Apparently, it's inherited through everything, like how we mentioned earlier. The modern day calendar having 12 months, 12 hours, 24 hours in the day, but they're described here as daytime and nighttime when he talks about it. So 12-hour double days.
Yes, Roland. Speaking of that, can you go into the 3 modes of measurement that they talk about in this chapter?
Oh,
so in chapter 6, he goes, he's very specific, which I do like that, and it's interesting, but he doesn't quite explain some of them out in that how they function, but he does mention them. He's again going back to the idea or the observation that these early cultures have access to information that has little to no benefit to them. So how would they understand this, or why would they even be able to understand this? Rather,
it's because they just got direct knowledge from the Nephilim. That is direct.
That's a quote in here, yeah. Because obviously the Nephilim gave it to them. So yeah, he points to 3 methods the Sumerians utilized for astronomical measurement to highlight their impracticality. One method used the weight of escaping water to the passage of time. That's the one I have some difficulty like understanding. Is he talking about like water evaporating from a cup kind of thing, like over a period of time? Do you I don't know, like expounded upon using math,
like even that how would
the size of a planet?
How would that benefit no measurements?
It doesn't. But so they use that to determine the distances between stars in terms of time. So the amount of water, I assume here at this point, as it evaporates, is measured in time, and they use that to.
Oh, actually, what I think they did was by escaping water,
right?
They poured it out, and figured out how long it took for it to hit the ground.
Oh, wow!
And then they go, and then they extrapolated from there, going
into distance.
It takes 1 ziggurat level per random moment of time, which we've already set up into the sexagonal system.
So use,
let's say it takes a fraction of a ziggurat block for water to hit the ground.
Right. So they use time and volume to determine distance somehow.
Yeah. And then they just go, so if there's this block, and then if that star's way over there, but figuring out how far that star fucking was,
right?
That's the part. So, it makes sense how they would use that as a
somewhat
way to kind of figure distance or whatever. But why not just go, it's 4 Enlil's high, and Enlil's supposed to be this big.
Yeah, yeah. So again, it's very it seems pretty complicated. It seems overtly complicated. And that's
overtly complicated, but I feel like it almost seems like a bit of a primitive source of measurement for such an advanced civilization. Shouldn't they this is for them to get back to their planet, not for them to come to Earth, because they have to think of two methods. Is it both? Because I know they have to have 2 methods of travel. One coming to Earth and then one going back, but wouldn't that be different measurements entirely?
It's still going to rely on the same positions of where the Earth is in relation to constellations, and what great year they're in. So whether they're pointed at Capricorn.
So I think I know what Ray is trying to suggest here, explain there with how it might be different. Are you maybe referring to the motion of the planets relative to each other, in their orbits?
Well, yeah, but I mean,
so that might not be necessarily
basically
the same distance, from Earth to Mars, in March, as it might possibly be in December. Or they'll be in a different location of their orbits, so the degrees would be different.
Yeah, because when we see this phenomenon in the sky, fucking Marduk is on his goddamn way, and he's probably near Jupiter based on these star positions, yada yada yada, and where Venus is in the sky. So it's all ways to and if it's all about tracking when the gods come or whatever, that's like when people know to be prepared for when these dudes actually show up.
Right.
I guess that would come upon, I guess, a second measurement, right? Because it says like the arc of the skies. So I mean, all these three measurements, like,
I think that like the arc of the skies was like related to like their own like mythology and cosmogeny, where it's like, okay, at some point, Enlil did this when these when like Leo
that's
out.
So like
and
that's
so
pretty much the mnemonic device that they use to.
What's up?
I said like that's the device that they use to record that and like remember it. Yeah, they use the passage of those particular zodiacs to describe like this time period or this particular phenomenon, transition,
but also like what's coming, because there's the passing of these great years and different things happen.
Yeah,
and
so like they've mapped out a huge time period,
Earth year,
based on each based on whatever sort of, I guess, rubric they used to determine what constellation or what zodiac, followed which one. It started out in Gemini and then ended up in Taurus and Leo and so forth. Whatever, I'm not sure how they organized that at that point. I just know that's how they used it. The first type was called Manashukultu, though. The second one that Ray was referring to, the arc of the skies, derived a measurement of distance using the hours in the day. So 30 degrees was measured as 24 hours, and that was Beru. So like that one that one makes a little more sense to me. It uses the phenomenon of time to determine a specific degree in space, which is, I think, where they refer to like with arc of the skies, the arc being within the 360 degrees around the planet. So the last technique was pretty simple.
Baru and Shama or whatever.
Yeah, Baru and Shame, whatever.
Baru and Shame.
Yeah.
Baru and a shame.
It was a fixed distance. It was equivalent. One Baru and a shame was equivalent, unit of measurement was equivalent to 10,692 meters. And so like, again, cool. Okay, interesting. Using this, they determined the length between the stars. What possible necessary use is
like,
that?
After he gets to those
from Sitchin's perspective,
like, once again, like, oh, the Nephilim must have told people.
Must have given them that.
Let's go with the premise that humans aren't stupid, and
again,
if they were the ones that built these sites, they were using the fucking stars and shit to like figure out like how to align them and stuff. And you see this phenomenon like all throughout the world, which is fascinating. You could argue like if you use the Sitchin's point where it's like, oh, here's like the mother civilization or father civilization and everything else is just kind of just a copy of a copy of a copy of it.
Right.
But you go to the New World and like in the lands that the Maya occupied, there were some special architectural features called E-groups that scholars just call them E-groups for some reason. But these are typically like astronomically lined structures and so forth. And even earlier in Peru, there's a trend for sites to follow like a certain degree of orientation. And like all of them will do that. Like in the valley I worked in, it was like, things like 37 degrees or something like that. And a majority of like the fucking site's layout was, based on that measurement. And then other people go, oh, if you just take that to like a astronomical perspective, then they start, tying in, various stars or points of interest. And so folks all around the world throughout time have been organizing based on the stars. So I don't think that it's possible that it was just the fucking Nephilim that could do this, because people were still continuing to apply these mathematics.
Yeah. So like I was telling Ray before, like what is the off chance that
I don't
like
even know what the point I was trying to make anymore.
No, like again, like we were talking about how this information could not have been derived from the human mind. It had to have been something that was introduced by an outside influence, an outside guiding hand. I don't know if this necessarily summarizes what you were referring to, Daniel, but it's just like a joke I'd made with Ray earlier. Like, okay, what isn't there to say there's just a bunch of fucking nerds with nothing better on their fucking hat, nothing better to do than to sit around and count out all the stars and compare notes and like try to out one up each other kind of thing. And all of a sudden, like,
and they're like, hey, that one looks like a dick.
Yeah. We're going to call it Scorpio. Like, yeah, okay. Cause it's a
scorpion's tail. No, it's a
scorpion's
dick,
tail.
dude.
it's just the dick's bent backwards or whatever. So yeah, what the hell isn't there to say that just a bunch of them got together and just started comparing notes and again trying to like compete with each other, and all of a sudden they've got a body of information that is pretty fucking legit. I mean, apparently Sitchin doesn't agree with that, and that's what I was talking about before with the logic trap of the conquistadores coming over, all the new world, countries coming in and just saying, oh, we're going to civilize all of you primitives. Like, we're bringing you knowledge and information because you're dumb. There's no way you could understand, like, the stars, the sun, and the moon, the seasons.
What I also wonder is, sorry, Ray, but it's related to like how the Sumerians could have possibly known about like the 12 planets that Sitchin's postulating exist, but
because they don't know
why wasn't it 60
planets
or 50? Like 60, that's the number of Anu.
So yeah, he does
it fits into this hexagonal system perfectly. And
well, he's
this is all, it has to do with his focus on the number 12.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like he has.
I want to say
again, we have a list here of like the different times the 12 is referenced throughout history.
Aside from the ones, go ahead.
In general.
But why not 60? And then look for a phenomenon that ties,
maybe he just didn't find enough examples of it, 50, man.
So it's like, the 5 acts of Enlil in this story or whatever, and Enlil went down, and did this 5 thing.
The shortest distance, because the shortest distance between 2 points, Daniel, is 12. That's why. In this context,
but.
Well, I mean, even if you're gonna like ask, those kinds of questions, you can also ask. Like, as far as the Nephilim are concerned, like, how long did it take them to figure out this information? And
even Marduk or his equivalent in Sumerian mythology,
Sumerian or Greek,
why wasn't the number
Roman
of the planets? Was it 40 that?
Are you talking about
supposed to be around or whatever? For like their god ranks. Or
yeah. Well, because the thing about that is that
galaxy was created in his image.
They make the distinction between like primary and secondary of sorts deities, and the primary ones, they fall into like they fall into a number of 12. The secondary being
but
like their satellites and all that.
Whatever his Sumerian equivalent was the one that basically made was the hero of the creation of the solar system and basically made all of these bitch ass planets, aka gods, fall in line.
Yeah.
Why 12? It's not related with his number in other instances in the iconography and nonsense charts that we tried to look at earlier and make sense of that Sitchin uses in the first 5 chapters.
He does point
because
to
he's
examples.
Trying to, set his little engine going.
He does point examples, or 2 other examples of not necessarily actual, I guess, having to do with the number of deities or like the number of celestial bodies in the heavens. He does talk about, I guess, it recurring in like rituals having to do with prayer to Marduk himself. They have to say something 12 times. They have a temple with 12 gates. They have
it's 7.
Well, the one I was looking at here, there's
like 7 gates. Or there are like 12 gates, 12 pillars.
Yeah, 12 pillars
walks
is what
on the gates.
about. 12.
There's also a phenomenon of 7 in that as well, like architecturally and blah blah blah. Like
Sure,
it's fucking weird.
Isn't that just picking and choosing like which number is going to mean more at a certain time? I mean, why again? You said why 12? Why not 60? Like whatever fits the narrative, you know?
Yeah, I just think it has to do with.
We're going to get to this in a later chapter, and I did talk to Roland about this yesterday a little bit via text, and we're still trying to like make sense of some of the bullshit, because I was like, well, I actually have a problem with Sitchin right now, and just blasted some walls of text at him. And
we'll
get into that.
I actually thought of a better response to some of them, but I was going to save that for later too.
Word. All right, cool. Anyway,
so yeah, like, I mean, if I was going to sort of try to explain away the reason why he focuses on these specific numbers is just this, he's looking for recurring themes,
and he found it
to support his theories. And yeah, this seems to be a prevailing one. The number of 12. It's used in the decimal system. It's used in time. The signs of the zodiac. 12. He even again like
brings
basically
the Bible.
12 tribes of Israel. Exactly. 12 apostles.
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, man, it's there. Gotcha. Wasn't there a movie about this with Jim Carrey? I forget. Was there where like the
aren't there 12 days of Christmas?
How dare you bring Santa into this?
12 beers in most packs.
That's right.
It's true, yeah.
It's important. Maybe he does know what he's talking about. Wow, it's everywhere.
12 inches and a foot long.
12-ounce bottles of beer.
Those are the good ones. So yeah, like that's again certain numbers that he uses. There's a prevalent theme.
12 monkeys
that he uses, and oh man, that's awesome. He points to these through most. He says that these are present in most major belief systems, measurements of time, astronomy, and doesn't really explain why. I don't necessarily think.
I told
just
Roland
that, it's a divine number.
I find it humorous that he says 12 double hours in a day.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because, he follows it up right there with I believe it was the Sumerians, making the distinction between daytime and nighttime. Right. So it's like, okay.
12 hours in the day, 12 hours in the evening.
Convenient.
Night,
but it fits your theory, sure, buddy, kind of thing.
Yeah, but that,
and then how does 24 multiply into 60 if they're double hours?
You're talking about degrees, man. Hold on.
You have to take into account the fact that Sitchin is
I don't
also
know math well. That's well established, but like
he's using modern either knowledge. Of course, you go through history and you see the number 12 a lot, and then you see any even modern technology to determine what the Nephilim were doing, because I don't think he's getting it necessarily from the tablets because they're not complete necessarily. He's also incorporating modern knowledge, modern technology.
He's making assumptions.
And let's go back to
exactly.
Why would he say that?
Episode?
How could you? How could you?
I'm just going to point out this is the same guy
of Sitchin
who said, let's just say this word means rocket ship instead. And that this word is a spacesuit.
Yeah. She's wearing goggles, all right? She's got a harness strapped into those wings that allow her to transition to her place, or whatever the hell it is that he's talking about. She doesn't fly, she floats, she hovers, whatever. And no, I'm getting a little away from that. Like,
yeah,
let's
but just saying, like, another jump from Sitchin, color me surprised.
You know what? Like, yeah, this is good to. I was thinking we were getting a slightly too heavy-handed there, but this is something you're going to want to prepare yourselves for if you decide to read this book. There's going to be a lot of, or rather a lack
moments.
of. There's going to be there's going to be rather a lack of.
I mean, the book. That's what you're talking about in general. Chapter 7, the epic creation. So again, chapter 6 is there's a lot of information in chapter 6 that I that's probably like an understatement, but it is the longest chapter in this segment that we're talking about here. So we go into the epic of creation, and the epic of creation. Hold on,
how the planets came to be.
Right.
From the Babylonian perspective.
Yeah.
Where are you going with Iron Monkey? What is that?
Oh, I was watching.
Let's not talk about that. Never mind. I'll get off topic. Go up, Roland, with that.
Oh.
No, I mean down. I mean down.
Oh,
down.
all right.
Down. We're on chapter 7 now.
That's right. That's why I was looking for this.
This is, I guess, more astronomy, which is not my particular level interest, but
so he's talking about the Sumerian cosmogony, Sumerian genesis, and how that relates to the location of the planets, or rather, the creation of our, like I said, universe,
The solar system.
Yeah, the solar system. Specifically, the star of this story, I think he separates it into like 5 acts or something. He gets pretty dramatic about it.
yeah.
Is Marduk. Marduk is the hero god, the I guess primary deity of the Babylonians, and he goes into talk or through this. He relates how they, go about explaining the creation of Earth, how they rationalize. Because again, through this, Sitchin is making a literal interpretation of this particular story.
Well, because it's that this story that these Babylonians said, it's actually accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
And these are the reasons why,
it's like they're just using these god figures as like the actors in it, but here's how it came about.
Apsu, the sun, and Tiamat, which was a planet at the time, were the first 2 primary deities, and they begat all of the other gods, who begat more gods, specifically when Marduk came along, and he came about and started a great conflict, I guess, or rather initiated after it had already been intimated that Apsu was.
He's got some figures here that was rolled people through as far as like the order of it. So
right, yeah,
he proposes that in the beginning you have the sun, Mercury, and Tiamat, whatever that planet was.
It wasn't. He rationalizes that later.
Right,
but it was a planet at the time.
You have the
it's not
addition
one
of Mars and Venus.
Right.
Then you have the addition of Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, and Mars. Oh, sorry, Mars was previous.
You got it? Okay, so like in modern astronomy, he points to the rationalizations of the what am I thinking of here? Of the asteroid belt. That sits between I forget where exactly, but he posits that look, this is these rocks out, these space rocks out here have their own gravity, they've got their own orbit, they've got their own position, like they're not independent of each other. They were supposedly established by scientists to be a part of a previous planet that had existed. The problem,
because it also like mathematically or whatever, it was like in a zone where a planet should have been.
So he's using this location, he's using this area to ascribe to Tiamat. But what he sort of goes into further detail, or which I can sort of appreciate specifically, he mentions that the problem with this asteroid belt representing Tiamat is that it's not large enough. Like there's no way that this amount of debris could is enough to represent a planet, a planetoid.
Yeah.
So that's where he goes back into talking about the Babylonian Genesis. Marduk, so Apsu, which is the sun again, and Tiamat, have these children. They have, the other planets basically. And again, this is in the establishment of this universe. And while these planets have been birthed and they're settling into their orbits, I think he calls it not tabular destiny. That he calls it.
They're fixed destinies or something like that.
Something
Tablets
like that.
Destiny. It was some.
It was a physical object called a tablet of destiny, but it sort of they had another reference to it. But the whole point of that was that they were just using
their orbit.
It's their orbit. Yeah, that they're trying to describe
their planethood. Essentially.
Yeah, exactly. How they move around or live around Apsu, the sun. And while they're establishing themselves, while they're stabilizing, they're very unstable. And all of this activity, all of this vibration, he writes it as energy, as radiation, or rather they're releasing all of this activity. And it's making Tiamat and Apsu very uncomfortable. So they start planning to kill, or rather, I guess, I'm not sure if it was to kill or to subjugate the other planets, to bring them under control, I guess to forcibly stabilize them. The other planets get wind of this and freak out. They're like, we need to do something about this. And that's when they have their own planets, and Marduk comes along and they elect him to be he actually is, the way they describe him, he's the greatest planet of all of them. He is the most kingly, he's the most stately.
He's their champion, basically.
Yeah, he's very tall. The planet of Marduk starts its movement through the galaxy because it is not beholden to Apsu. So he has his own tablet of destiny. He has his own orbit to move through, independent of everyone else. Because he is so powerful, as he's moving through all of the other gods' locations, the strength of his presence attracts followers. It forces them to move and to pay tribute of a sort, I guess, to him, in that he starts pulling followers from them in the form of satellites. But they give them all names. He has the 4 winds, I think, is the first set of satellites that he pulls, or followers that he pulls from. I forget if it was Neptune or Saturn. I don't.
I thought it was Uranus that he did it from.
Uranus, you're right. Thank you.
Up earlier.
That's right, I did. But he got I think he got 2 or 3 more from another planet, and that's why I was mentioning Neptune and Saturn. In total, he had about 7, if I'm not mistaken. There was the north, the south, the east, and the west wind, and then there was the evil wind, the tumultuous wind, and one more. I could be wrong, but my whole point.
There were 4 winds.
4 winds originally, and then he pulled another.
Showing because I'm looking at a graphic. It's figure 107 in the book.
Okay, 107. So he does. Those are the only ones he has. He gets more followers.
Was that for his second pass or whatever?
No. It was within the first pass. It's because he moved within proximity to the other planets as well. And when he did this, he did pull in.
It did brought 7 satellites. There it is.
He did gain more followers. His army, so to speak, was
it was the 4 winds and then 3 more dudes. But
I was just trying to find their silly names. He got them. So the chief ones were from Uranus, and then he did get more from Saturn and Jupiter. 3 more from them: the evil wind, the whirlwind, and the matchless wind. And so this was his storm.
Yeah, and then when
chariot.
he passed by Saturn's satellite,
that was Saturn.
The
Saturn
future Pluto, it was loosened from its course, as he said.
That's right. So. That happened later after he was in the battle with after he did his first pass / quote unquote fight with Tiamat. what happened was that his satellites collided with the planet and killed her. The way it's explained in the mythology is that Tiamat opened her mouth to either swallow him or I think to breathe fire, and he jammed one of the satellites, one of his winds, into her mouth to hold it open. And while she was immobilized from this act, he
fucked her mouth. Yeah.
I believe he shoots her in the stomach with an arrow and spills her guts everywhere and kills her. So the act of this, astronomically speaking, the planet passes by and his satellites collide with the planet and basically destroy it. He goes through another orbit, because at this point he's won. His next orbit though is describing it as a victory lap. He's going to meet with all the other, everybody else,
and he
saying,
goes eventually. Hey, it's like the finish him.
What's up, guys? Like, I did what you did. Now, like you said, I'm in charge. I'm the boss. Eat my ass. And so when he's at the I believe the apogee, that is to say the furthest point away from Apsu, because I didn't mention this before. The first thing that all the gods do is they subjugate the sun. They put Apsu to sleep. And that's when Tiamat is just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that's when they isolate her and then send Marduk in for the kill. So he's coming back at this point. Marduk, that is to say, reaches the apogee, the furthest point away from the sun. I forget it. I think that's right. There's apogee and one other to describe the closest point to the sun. But anyways.
Is that pedigree?
So as he's coming back again for his victory lap. He wants to return to the battleground, to the point where he was at where he peaked. No, he comes back to sort of start the business of ruling the universe, kind of thing. Like he starts designating particular deities and their holy numbers and locations in the universe. That's when he designates Pluto, which was Gaga, right? I don't recall specifically what that guy represented, like as far as the planets or the planetoids or the satellites go. I just know that he was the the emissary to the gods? What was the phrase, dude?
But then it was said that he loosened its orbit. So I wonder if that was like to account for why,
right. Yes. Again, from the astronomy.
I think he writes that, but it's just
I mean, like we're meant to sort of infer that like again, like these are literal stories. What's really or physically happening that we can see from our perspective is that the planet of Marduk is moving close to what will be Pluto, and it upsets its orbit and pushes it out to the edge of the solar system. And
I thought that it was all a simulation.
And so Marduk establishes Gaga as Pluto to be the watcher, right, of all of the other planets, the outlier, I guess. So he comes back to Tiamat. At this point, Tiamat had several satellites. She had her own army, right, at the time. And when Marduk comes along and like slams his metaphorical balls into Tiamat, destroying her. Well, it's not metaphorical. I guess it is literal. His satellites, the moons that orbited him, were what actually destroyed Tiamat. It wasn't Marduk physically himself. He comes back, or rather, when he's doing that, she has her own army. She has her own moons. Those moons are all knocked out of orbit, and Marduk actually turns them into comets. Like he fucks their orbits, their gravity up so much that they're essentially just sort of ejected from the planet on their own. I think he calls it a reverse. Well, yeah, like he reverses their position within the universe, their orbit, their location, and so that's where those or what happens to them specifically, and also to sort of explain, those that we have comets, like though actually those were defeated gods or demigods or whatever. They're offspring of Tiamat that lost the fight, and they ran away. And or symbolically, but literally, Marduk sort of shoots them out of the universe. Save one, and the guy's name was Kingu. He was Tiamat's
Tiamat.
Right. He was her general.
Satellite.
The big boss. He stuck around, and Marduk punished him. Basically, he stripped him of his power, of any life, and established him as our moon, as the moon of Earth. And Earth itself came about because he decapitates Tiamat. Tiamat's lifeless body is still there, floating in space. And he decides to do something with it, to create the heavens and to create our existence as we understand it. So her head that he cuts off becomes Earth, and so Earth is a reincarnation of Tiamat, and he designates Kingu as the moon to. I forget the specific name. It's something. But Kingu's original, I believe his original name was what you said, like Great Emissary or some such. And it becomes Pot of Lead. He pretty much strips Kingu of all life and just makes it like a ball of clay in the sky, which, well, that's pretty much what the moon is.
One of the other interpretations, yeah.
Let me see. I was looking at it here. I want to look for it. Yeah, Tiamat's upper part was thrown into the new orbit as the new planet Earth. We suggest Kingu was pulled along. The moon, again, we suggest, is Kingu, Tiamat's former satellite. This is all Sitchin, baby. Transformed into the celestial Dugai, Kingu's been stripped of his vital elements, atmosphere, waters, radioactive matter. He shrank in size and became a mass of lifeless clay. These terms Sumerian terms, fittingly describe the moon. It's recently discovered history and the fate that befell the satellite that started out as Kingu, great emissary, and ended up as Dugai, pot of lead. And so after Marduk establishes the Earth and the moon, he takes the remains of Tiamat and spreads that over as the asteroid belt. Sitchin uses this example as another parallel, device to prove his theories, as it's mentioned in other religions. I forget exactly where he talks about it in the Old Testament. There are references it in the Old Testament that they directly mention a belt of...
And God said, let there be lights in the hammered heaven to divide between the day and the night, to let them be celestial signs for the seasons and the day and for the years.
Yeah, that's one of them. He does. There's another.
Yes.
More specific.
The hammered canopy stretched out into the place of or Tiamat.
Yes.
They're suspended in the void. His powers, the waters did arrest. His energy, the haughty one did cleave. His wind, the hammered bracelet measured out. His hand, the twisting dragon did extinguish. And Tiamat being the dragon.
More of the... Right, yes. Tiamat is a form of the dragon. He uses more...
The Lord...
More examples to suggest or infer Tiamat represents the earth, and that Tiamat was always referred to as pretty much a water deity. I think they call it like a watery monster or a watery...
watery monster, yeah.
And the earth itself is described as a planet, like a planet water, an oceanic planet sort of thing. So... He sort of uses that.
Ocean.
Yeah, there we go. Mine way sounds fancier. So, yeah, he's just using that to support the theory that Tiamat is the Babylonian representation of Earth, or Babylonian literal representation of Earth. And Marduk kept moving at this point, and I think he settles into his own orbit, and that specific planet is what he refers to as Nibiru. And that
having thus constructed the stations for the planets, Marduk took for himself station Nibiru and crossed the heavens and surveyed the new solar system. It was now made up of 12 celestial bodies with 12 great gods as their counterparts.
Well, Roland, I was going to ask you questions about this myth, but you kind of just went with it. So the best to just stay quiet and let you do it. Very good.
Right.
Bravo.
So that was chapter 7.
That was all chapter 7 right there. Nicely summed up. I would have preferred to have read that than what Sitchin wrote. Next chapter we're going to go through is chapter 8, the kingship of heaven. Seems a little bit confusing the way Sitchin presents the information, jumping from a biblical source to, I guess, a Sumerian, Mesopotamian source.
Yeah.
And
and it's just more of his cherry picking. He very much focuses on whatever perspective
and
supports his theory.
I guess the kingship is supposed to be Marduk, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm trying to position him within the solar system.
Right, as Nibiru.
Right.
Which is not accounted, or it's just, it's not here kind of thing. Like he's trying to account for it well.
Right.
Yeah, and like Marduk is only like known as Nibiru when it's in a certain location at like the place of the crossing or whatever. Right. And
which is kind of confusing.
The place of the crossing is like when it comes into view of Earth.
That has a figure over here. Ooh. I guess right here is in 114, the reappearance of the 12th planet. I guess the place of crossing is that place between. Is it coming in view of Earth, or is it when it's like in alignment with Earth as well?
Yeah, it's like within alignment with Earth. Like,
yeah. So it says here. Hold on, let me go back this way. The place of crossing the planet is Nibiru Part C, which is the drawing imaginary axis between the Sun, Earth, and is it perigee of Marduk's orbit. Observers on Earth first saw Marduk align
as Daniel was joking, pedigree.
Yeah, with Mercury at the 30-degree angle, progressing another 30 degrees. Marduk crossed the orbit.
So aligned with
Jupiter.
Mercury, yeah. Then it goes another 30 degrees and it crossed the orbital path of Jupiter.
Right.
And then it doesn't say at another 30 degrees. It's at the point of the crossing and it becomes Nibiru.
Yeah, which is the site of the celestial battle, which we just talked about in the previous chapter.
Right. So it was closest to Earth, and then it began its orbit back to distant space. So, yeah.
Right, and then he goes, just reading directly from the book, it says the anticipation of the day of the Lord, in which the ancient Mesopotamian and Hebrew writings, which were echoed in the New Testament's expectations of the coming of the kingship of heaven, was thus based on the actual experiences of Earth's people, their witnessing of the periodic return of the planet of kingship to Earth's vicinity.
Right, Marduk,
right.
And it's supposed to take 25,000 years he gets to for the orbit cycle of Marduk?
I actually thought it was 3,500.
Yeah, 36?
35. 30. Well,
then what's up with this great year bullshit he brought up?
Well, I think that's what they referred to it as. One of those one of those particular years, to us, a great year for them, referred to as a shar, was represented as 3,600 of our years. And the Nephilim supposedly live as many years as we live on this earth, as there are shars. So if somebody lives for 70 years here, they're going to live. A Nephilim would live for 70 shars, which is however much 3,600 times 70 is.
Right.
They use that to describe the particular kingdoms that the Nephilim establish on Earth, because they reign for hundreds of thousands of years, and that is what explains that. It's because they're long lived. Obviously, long lived compared to humans.
He does mention that there is speculation for Planet X, that a Planet X exists.
Is that a 13th, or what? Are you? What is that?
Well, let me read this paragraph. It says this may also be the way in which astronomers will discover the 12th planet, and he's mentioning the fact that that the orbits of known planets astronomers found were apparently being affected by other celestial bodies. Mm-hmm. And he had mentioned before that some planets weren't discovered visually, but mathematically.
Right. Yeah. I believe it is that the ancient civilizations were only able to discover planets up to like Saturn.
Yeah, and he brings up the fact that the orbit of Halley's Comet could be caused by the size of a planet, the size of Jupiter orbiting the sun every 1,800 years.
Sure. It's just I'll
bring in an article from Scientific American which talks about the possibility of a Planet X being discovered.
Okay.
Which from a magazine I bought like last year or some shit. Mm-hmm. But I'll bring that in so we can talk about that as well. The Kingship of Heaven chapter, again, it kind of just goes through, iterations of Marduk and I guess it's discovery. See,
right? Yeah, he talks about it. It seems to talk about it in terms of the astronomy. Okay, like its orbit follows this many years, and you can trace. What does he trace? Like the great events or whatever to multiples of those 3,600 years. He starts with like 11,000 BC and then 7,400 and then 3,800.
He does make a bit of a jump here. It says, one may ask, of course, whether any of the Nephilim having landed on Earth could remain in command here for the purported 28,800 or 3,600 years. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, it's no wonder scholars speak of the length of these reigns as legendary.
So he uses these particular multiples of the shars to coincide with specific events in the Earth's history. He mentions here the deluge of the Old Testament, or attributes it to the Nephilim. What does he say? Reinterprets a biblical reference to 120 years as meaning 120 shar, citing it as proof the Nephilim ruled for 432,000 years. And from that, he estimates the Nephilim first landed on Earth 450,000 years ago. I'm from at this point here, like I'm having a look see at this other little summary that we found on this chapter, and I guess I have some slight issues with it in that Sitchin apparently argues for the possibility of life off Earth that does not require a sun. He apparently postulates that a planet can generate its own energy, keeping within it an atmosphere supporting life. Right. I'm not very keen or specifically knowledgeable enough to understand like the physics involved with that particular form of astronomy, but if I had to make a guess, I would think they'd have to be a pretty fucking big planet to be able to do that. I'm not sure. But
does the size of the planet affect?
Well, it would. I would think it would
life on
affect the amount of energy of the output of that particular planet, and specifically the amount of heat that it would require to be able to sustain its own life without the presence of a sun. Without the presence of a sun.
Assuming
Venus
that,
without the
without the presence of a sun.
but that's
have
assuming
to have
that
a ton of radioactive shit
absolutely,
going on.
absolutely. But it's like I
But
said,
even
this
then,
is just
like,
my
like
general
the
guess.
Earth, like it has a ton of radiation.
Right. So
But
like I'm basing
life
my
on this
guess
planet is still dependent with on the sun in a lot of ways.
Right.
So yeah, that's a fun point, Roland. Yeah, like
and that being said, I'm basing my guess to be more specific on a planet like Earth. It would have to be a terrestrial planet, able to, like it has its oceans, and because as well they mention here an atmosphere.
well, and what I'm wondering is like why the
it would have to be much bigger.
Anunnaki in outside of like their depictions where they're like supposed to be like in the heavens doing their own thing or whatever, or like in the heavens talking to people on Earth. You always see like Inanna in her like spacesuit that he already is, whatever.
Yeah.
But so perhaps the fucking Anunnaki, like they needed to set up shop or the Nephilim needed to set up shop somewhere else. Earth was the kind of the best they could do.
I mean, that kind of makes sense.
But they still couldn't live here because
that it was
of
a
their initial
landing
conditions
point.
Of
that.
Or
so you're suggesting
dude,
that they had locations outside of our universe.
But dude, so if we look back at was it figure 114 where he shows all, or 113 where he shows all, or yeah, 114.
we're showing the path of
The path of Marduk. Yeah.
Okay.
So what if whatever's going on with that planet, once it gets nearest the zone of fucking, Jupiter's orbit, what's to say that like the sun doesn't have some sort of life sustaining effects or whatever, or like it's able to whatever, like the geochemical
you mean
makeup
like
of the planet is
maybe like
it's a nice little solar charge as it goes back out into space.
You know what? If they had if it say that Marduk is comprised of materials that are like superconductive or whatever.
Maybe they're harnessing a solar flare.
Well, yeah. And like it's able to absorb enough energy that it needs to continue on its journey and to support life based on its orbit.
What I'm curious though is like why, although like Marduk assigned its own station, but it's still like Sitchin say this is a real planet, but its orbit is counter to the rest of our solar system.
So like, I think again, like he's trying to rationalize how you could have something that is completely opposite to the general standards of the universe's, I guess, order. In the case,
why would they set up shop on a planet that has the exact opposite conditions of their natural environment?
Maybe it's just in that, like, well, I don't know that it's necessarily opposite.
That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's because they need the good shit. They need that Texas tea and. So, yeah, they're jumping ship.
We haven't seen the fucking Nephilim come back because this was just a little waypoint so they can launch their ships to like the next galaxy.
They're coming here. They're like teaching all the people here like all of their ways so that they can harvest the living fuck out of all our resources and take their shit back to Marduk. And or meet him back at some point so that they can support themselves and go, back off.
Maybe
they
were living in like a biodome or something.
Well, what if the Nephilim figured out a way to like harvest our planet? They're like, we have a perfect way to absorb the expended energy from all the petroleum products we taught you guys how to burn. Yeah. So once you've ruined your planets, we're going to get all of our fucking energy in the next like 2,000 years. Next time we're around, guys, you guys will be dead, but hey, we'll set up a new Earth. It's fine.
Maybe.
Are there any
Sitchin does make the argument that at one point there was a decline in humanity in their civilization, and then they had another resurgence or whatever. I mean, not to say anything of the Dark Ages, apparently. So why not? That's a thing.
Is there any recorded? I guess is there recorded evidence at some point in any of the other cultures where there has been a return?
of
like anybody
a
else,
resurgence
like,
of,
yeah,
of
yeah, you know,
that's weird.
Yeah, you know how we have like the Revelation is supposed to be the return of like Jesus Christ and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, the
but like in any other sort of culture,
allegedly Quetzalcoatl was supposed to return to the Aztec and other groups that used him. I think can't remember anything out of like Andean mythology, but I mostly just ignore that shit because it's like what the Spaniards said, the Inca thought, and then some of it's like what the Inca thought or what the Spanish said that the Inca said about groups before them, and I don't buy any of that shit.
So basically what we're talking about here.
Yeah. But as far as like mythologies of like return of like, you know, the gods or whatever, I'm not super up on.
Okay. I mean, I'm not either. So
I mean, we could just do like a quick Google search or whatever at some point and be like, okay, well, like, I mean, because and there are occurrences of like Osiris got moitered and then was reconstructed and came back or whatever.
I mean, sure.
But that's all still based in the same like pantheon of sorts that the Sumerians allegedly had. But we can say definitely like the Babylonians and later groups, you know, thought these things.
So that I'm reading of this chapter here, it sort of refers back to the previous chapter in that, again, Marduk created Earth from the remains of Tiamat and essentially seeded the planet. That is when he takes credit, because Marduk was also given credit by the Babylonians as the creator of humanity, the bringer of life to Earth. And so that's where Sitchin again postulates that the Nephilim came about seeding the planet of Earth. You know, that is to say, Marduk passed through, you know, did whatever the hell he did, planted some grain, and you know, grew some crop and baked some bread and all that cheese, and here we are.
Thanks, some humans.
Specifically, or rather, to describe in like in astronomical terms, I guess Marduk, rather Shar, collided with Tiamat, or Earth, and from that collision, we were given the building blocks of life, like science purports biological molecules may have arrived, and that developed into.
Isn't that what I guess science claims now? Like there was a collision, and then as everything spreads apart, and like building blocks of life kind of like just happen to either.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, like Earth kind of like
single cell organism.
Yeah, like as Earth was kind of like spinning, like everything kind of like came together,
yes.
and then you have like the moon.
It was spinning, and it was heating up, and then eventually, as it stabilized, it settled into the specific, I guess, petri dish that was needed to support life.
What created the Nephilim though? In that case,
well, I mean, like if you're supposed to believe the Sumerians, the other planets created the tertiary planets, not the primary four planets. Right. It was Neptune, it was Uranus, it was Saturn, it was Jupiter that created Marduk.
Right.
And that is to say, Marduk, the basically comet planet, I guess, sort of broke off from somewhere or took form from the planets themselves, from the outlier planets themselves, and then was able to, you know, come about with all of the rest of this.
Okay, so chapter 9, landing on planet Earth. From my recollection, I believe that this is just is this the one where they're talking about like they landed on Earth unless I'm jumping ahead to chapter 10. The Earth looked different, that they landed here on an ice age.
Right. Okay. So landing on planet Earth. Yeah. So when the Nephilim, like 450,000 years ago, whenever they were supposed to have showed up, we were in like the full throes of an ice age or whatever, or maybe like a post-glacial period where like things were starting to set back. But the planet looked different. Sea levels were like 600, 700 feet lower. So there's a lot more land area or land surface visible. And because in this chapter, before he even gets to, he goes into all the shit about the Babylonian New Year festival and how the processions of the gods in their various order is like representative of, or like a retelling in mythological form of the path that the 12th planet takes as it's nearing the planet Earth.
As opposed to like the generally accepted interpretations of the New Year celebration across most civilizations.
And Daniel,
where they're basically their agricultural like harvest festivals, like fertility, celebrations or whatever.
Celebrating the new cycle of
this is shit reserved for like the end of the episode, but the Babylonian New Year festival, when I did look it up, because I was like, well, this is curious. And apparently linguistically, like the way that the mainstream scholars talk about it is that it's like the Babylonians call it the Akitu or something like that, or a Kiku festival. What the fuck is it? Akitu, yeah. Pronunciation unknown, but it relates to an earlier Sumerian word for barley and related to the two periods of year where it was like the planting of the barley and then the harvesting of the barley. And Sitchin misrepresented when the celebration starts, because it's always like the first day of spring. So it was like always set or whatever. But the stuff I was looking at was talking about how it's like would start like anywhere between like the first and like the fourth day of spring.
Right, yeah, because they're not going to be able to say like, oh, it feels kind of warm, let's have a party. No, they're going to want to be like, maybe this is just like a fluke or whatever, and then the next day they get hit with a.
And they're probably also like, relating that to like the movements of the cosmos as they can observe them, and also the developments of the barley in relation to all of that.
Like at the end of the week kind of thing.
And then the seasonality of it.
Friday party.
But it was initially like, or it's suggested that it was a time, like it was a New Year's festival, yeah, sure. But it was, linked to barley production, where it was like planting versus harvesting times of year.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, like, just going through these chapters and stuff like that, the fact that Sitchin is trying to pose a literal interpretation of this creation and whatnot, but it's also referred to the fact that these characters are like the moon, the earth, and stuff like that. So that kind of, I feel like kind of like kills the literal interpretation of this story in general. So I mean, it's just a kind of a metaphorical version of whatever he's talking about. Like as far as like the I can't see as like Ea or Enki or Enlil or as like actual beings, and not just the metaphorical version of the actual earth and stuff like that.
No, I get that. Like so,
he uses the metaphorical information to make a literal interpretation of sorts.
No. But I think what Ray may be getting at is like all of this stuff that Sitchin is tying together. Or maybe he's stitching together.
I'll make sure and throw in the drum thing on that.
Yeah. All right.
That's just for you, Ray, baby.
Yeah. There it is.
But what I think you're trying to drive at is that you don't see these as actually being figures that are real. Like it's a explanation for like how the cosmos is,
right?
But where we get aliens from. That's
exactly,
where you're,
yeah,
right. Because like it seems like it's like this nice little like, okay, well, these little silly stone throwing pyramid building idiots, you know, they just related the cosmos in this way, and that's accurate.
Yeah,
and actually they predicted this other planet that you know we haven't detected yet, but fuck, they might be right because they've been right about all these other things.
So
where I jump to landing on the planet and aliens coming down and doing shit. Yeah, I don't see that link.
The reason why I don't see that link, that's true though. Like, no, you're absolutely correct. The reason I don't see the link is for the simple fact that he refers to the aliens as Nephilim, which is a biblical reference, and so like for him, that's the reference to the angels, or in that particular context. From the Bible, so it's not exactly. Right, yeah.
God made the heavens or whatever, but he's not trying to demonstrate that. Fuck, Sitchin, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I'm getting the.
He's not trying to demonstrate that like these are necessarily
there lies the confusion of his explanation, because I mean he's using the Bible, and the Bible is supposed to be, in some interpretations, a literal representation. You have the angels, which are the Nephilim here,
right?
And I mean you have God, you have Jesus, you have all these other little figures that are supposed to be literal, right? Technically, and then he's explaining these characters as relating to them
other guys that are represented by these other guys that are actually represented by these other guys.
But don't forget, it's literal.
Sumeria, and okay, here's the initial set of figures or whatever,
the first story.
But they're real.
Yeah, but they're represented by the planets. So I mean, like, if we see these things. Earth has this name, and then you have the moon, which is Enlil.
They lose it because
I'm sorry, like Enlil's the Earth, and then the Enki is the moon. Like it's all these names associated with actual planets, kind of kills the literal interpretation of these beings.
So it is absolutely funky because he's using a literal representation of several iterations of interpretations of specific
Daniel's
parallels in these
mentioning earlier the copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like it. Yeah, it definitely fucky.
But if the Nephilim came down and told people what was up, why are they gods? Why are they not just like, hey man, we're dudes that have all this cool shit to show you. And we just asked you to do some shit for us on occasion, but hey, here's how to build all these great pyramids and look at these great cities we already set up for you to model after. And so you have even more areas set up for us to come hang out with you at.
I can only make the assumption. They can only make the assumption that they refer to them as gods because they're an existence beyond, or seem to be an existence beyond human.
Well, but then that goes, then stupid humans again and can't do anything without the help of the fucking Nephilim.
No, it follows into the logic trap, but I think that's
maybe
one that supports his
any creators
like
considered a god.
What he's putting forth. Yeah,
that's basically it. Right? Like any creators considered a god.
You know, guys, I think we did a first in because I've listened to quite a few podcasts related to the Anunnaki and stuff, but no one's ever like directly questioned like, okay, how do you make these leaps to demonstrating that these early cultures knew what was going on with space and time and yada, yada, yada. But then you just jump to visitors.
Yeah.
Like, and I guess that's the problem with the whole thing. And I love these theories. They're super fun. And there's some discussions of, aliens that I think are interesting and potentially tenable. Like that one book that I hope we can get to about, like how, the time, or writ large, the like time traveling astronaut hypothesis.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He's dead.
But yeah, so I mean,
I was going with that, but
that's as
this one's just.
No, I mean, like you weren't necessarily going anywhere with it. It was more of like a statement about
Again, I think that's at the fault of Sitchin here, because I mean he's jumped so many times.
To question or to quote a great law enforcement official, I want to believe.
Yeah.
But Sitchin's making it very hard, using his own data set to make his own case.
Right. And I think
and I find that's absurd. Like,
if he had simplified things a little bit more, maybe his point would have come across a bit easier.
I don't even think it's really about simplification, really, because I think it's this leap, because he keeps talking about how the Sumerians did all these things, but once again, it's that kind of like poor scholarship where and yes, there is less that we know about the Sumerians, so by proxy, we use the Hittites and all their dickheads as proxies, but how do you get the aliens? Like, and then so how do you get to aliens? And then so accepting that these dudes are aliens, they're actually coming to visit every like 3,600 years or whatever. Why the fuck is their like technology so crappy? Like, why can't they just have like one ship that can come down if they can travel through the like? Well, actually, oh fuck, I'm wrong, because I suggested that the Anunnaki's technology is crappy because Sitchin keeps comparing it to our tech. However, later in the book, when he's talking about when Marduk is coming nearby, the Anunnaki still have to fire a ship from it. So I would suggest that if they did live on this 12th planet or whatever that comes around every once in a while, that their technology is not hyper advanced, that it is very akin to ours, because where the place of crossing is or whatever, and that's where Sitchin says, like, nearing the place of crossing, that's where they deploy the little ship.
Right. That's
not a very long trip.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because it's right in front of Earth, like, or right near Earth. Well,
and then their dependence on petroleum, so like maybe actually support or it would support our style of rockets.
Well, yeah, I had mentioned to Roland that.
Oh no, Sitchin was right.
No, that Sitchin is only using the technology at the time to reference or to make comparisons, because I mean he had no other way of interpreting how they either were traveling from back and forth. Well, I mean,
Star Trek came out in 1963.
Well, there you go. He's using that as well. But I mean, what kind of propulsion are they using for that in Star Trek? Like, how are they traveling?
Technology, man.
Yeah, but I guess
it's using like plasma energy and shit. Well, man.
Sitchin believes that's fake.
They don't have like Scotty down in the engine room shoveling coal in the fucking steam engine of the fucking Enterprise.
Sitchin believes that's fake, because that's on TV, so that's not real. So
they can't hit warp 5 in the early shows because Scotty can't fucking shovel that fast. He's like, I'm giving it all I got, and he's fucking just, working at max speed, but he ain't Superman.
In this chapter, he is going through all the calculations allegedly that were that his brother came up with.
Yeah, his brother did some math for him.
Yeah. And of course, Sitchin is also saying that all the scholars that came before him just aren't in agreement and they don't know. Says there has never been a full agreement among scholars.
It also like fucks up his case for me. Sorry to cut you off. I see you're trying to work out your thoughts, but and I guess I need to work out mine. But once again, he hurts his own case when he brings his own evidence to bear, and he just says, most scholars disagree.
Yeah.
And that's all he talks about. But he doesn't discuss like alternative hypotheses and why they're incorrect, even if it's just a quick aside, right. But he'll go like, here's what all these, modern scholars think about this and scientists. And he's like, but what if we call it a rocket ship instead?
Right.
Then the whole interpretation changes. And he also does the same sort of linguistic gymnastics, I think kind of honestly, but it does also just kind of like, maybe he's wrong. Because at one point he's like, okay, what if we interpret the like Sumerian fragments of tablets we have, not from like the Babylonian uses of like word signs, but as word syllables or whatever that the Sumerians allegedly used. Damn it. And then you have all of the shit where he goes into the our light, change, observe path and high ground, flat land, rocket, rise guide, 40, 20, 22. Like, it's all this like crazy shit. And I'm trying to figure, but he also doesn't like, so he's like this, expert in, deciphering Sumerian nonsense.
Right.
But he just gives these really like weird, vapor clouds, no vapor clouds, rocket, pile up, mountain, set. And then there's some shit that he does not translate, like kebab, anu. It's fucking frustrating. Oh, yeah. Okay. Na, nu, along the descending line. Sha, along the circumference. Sham, bur, cur, along the horizontal line. It's on the page closest to figure 122 where he's like doing all these breakdowns. But it's like, okay, what the fuck are you even trying to get at, dude? Like, I can write la and say that, 2 + 2 = 5 based on that interpretation.
I mean, the only thing I could say to that, jumping in here pretty fucking late, is that those tablets that you're referring to, or that he uses here, says that he tries to read them not as Assyrian word signs, but as Sumerian word syllables.
No. Yes. And so, but my question is, how to take all of these like word symbols that are identical and then generate different words from them?
One of the segments, it's meaningless syllable.
Magic.
Well, like, it's weird because I'm just reading specifically here, but it says pretty much exactly what you're saying. It's meaningless syllables literally spring to meaningfulness if we enter the Sumerian meaning of these word syllables.
Yeah, but the thing is, but still, there's
it doesn't really make any sense. Like,
it's
like a contradiction of itself. So
it's like this is completely legible-ish according to like the Babylonians.
Maybe it's
my narrative.
Sha.
Yeah. Shaha.
Yeah.
Saha.
Nah.
Shay. Like,
wow. How dare you? My mother was a saint. Yeah. Who the fuck do you even understand any of this shit?
But he doesn't give us like any sort of like breakdown. He's like, okay, in this sequence of like word syllables or word symbols, whatever he says the Sumerians used, like in this spacing or in this orientation of them, blah, blah, blah.
Ipso facto is a map.
They mean this.
Yeah. It's a route map.
Because it just goes back to that whole like, trust me, guys. Brother Sitchin would not lie to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, throughout this text, he mentions that after all the calculations and that his brother helped, what he says right here.
Yeah, go ahead.
The spacecraft of the Nephilim was probably launched from the 12th planet in the direction of the 12th planet's own orbit, but well ahead of the arrival of the Earth's vicinity. Based on these and a myriad of other factors, 2 alternative trajectories for the spacecraft were worked out for us by Amnon Sitchin, Doctor of Aeronautics and Engineering. The first trajectory would call for a launching of the spacecraft from the 12th planet before it reached the apogee? Apogee.
Right.
Yeah, the farthest point out. But the one thing I did want to say, like, and he goes into like talking about all that stuff, but it says based on the complex technical data as well as hints in the Mesopotamian text, it appears that the Nephilim adopted for their Earth missions the same approach NASA adopted for the moon missions. When the principal spaceship reared the target planet Earth, it went into orbit around the planet without actually landing. Instead, a smaller craft was released from the mothership and performed the actual landing. So again, he's using.
So I want to go back to one
modern
of my
technology
figures,
for that.
121, where he spends all this time talking about how like this is representation of Marduk being in between the 7th planet and the 6th planet. And earlier in this chapter, he talks about how, the way that the Sumerians ordered the planets or whatever, they counted, backwards. So not out towards the cosmos, but like from Marduk in. So they're talking about how like, so this accounts for why like the 7th planet and the 6th planet. So like us and Mars are separating or are currently the A and C points, and B is the symbol of the winged globe.
Yes.
That is argued to be Marduk.
Right. Within several belief systems. It's not just apparently that's a motif that follows through several cultures.
But he spends so much time explaining all of these elements, but then he doesn't talk about that little triangle, 3 dots, and 2 lines.
Yeah, that one right in the center. Yeah, towards the bottom.
Yeah, and he missed an opportunity because right then he could have talked about how this was the fucking ship that he was talking about that was actually launched from the 12th planet.
All right, so that smaller image is supposed to be the smaller craft that is coming from the mothership.
I don't think he ever said that.
No, I'm just making the assumption here that that's what he's interpreting.
Like that would be like the leap, but I don't remember him. And I read through this again today, like in detail, because I was like, dude, he never brings that up.
Yeah.
But then he could have been like, oh, look at this perfect little landing craft with little like,
antenna
is ready to land just like our own moon exploration vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't fucking do that. So it's another one of those like cases of like, oh, like, let me explain 65% of what is in an image, but there's actually like 15% of this image that would, really bolster my claim.
The rest of this isn't important.
That I don't address.
Okay, look, he just needs the part that explains his theories, and the rest of it is up to your interpretation.
But that would have fit into his theory. 12th planet.
It only makes sense if you don't think about it.
Nearish Earth, But no, let's just ignore that. And he doesn't talk about that little like fish thing next to it either, because he could have taken an opportunity to go like, well, if we go back to figure 121, we can see that this was for water landings, because why would this thing be near a fish?
We just need the meat and potatoes of this stew.
This would be part of his fucking taters.
Yeah. No. Potatoes. No. You're talking about
an agreement with like what he gets onto in the next chapter and the next.
From Sitchin's perspective,
he fucking ignores it.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
Apparently,
man. Fuck this book,
Sitchin doesn't like fucking carrots or cabbage or onions or none of that shit. He just needs just the meat. Just needs the good stuff.
Yeah. He had the meat, forgetting the other part.
Nope, that's all you need, all right? Taters is great. They so much flavor.
Fucking Sitchin was just like, nah, we can dine on roast beef alone.
Right. Protein only, baby. Got to get them gains. Those metaphorical Nephilim gains. Strong bones. And
I imagine we can go into the next chapter.
Oh.
Unless you have anything to add from
just at the last bit of the chapter.
Yes, go ahead.
As difficult as accurate landings were, the departures from Earth must have been even trickier. The landing craft had to rejoin its mothership, which then had to fire up its engines and accelerate to extremely high speeds, for it had to catch up with the 12th planet, which by then was passing its perigee between Mars and Jupiter at its top orbital speed. Dr. Sitchin has calculated that these were 3 points in the spaceship's orbit of Earth that lent themselves to a thrust towards the planet, the 12th planet. So it's like, well, there's like 3 points where apparently somehow space speeds up the spacecraft, but not everything else that's in. Like, I don't get it, man.
You don't need to know. Dr. Sitchin did the work for us.
This was their window of success.
Wouldn't it be great if his brother actually didn't exist and it was just like him, like in a like photo with like a mustache, like a fake mustache, and like his hair's usually combed to the right, but then he combed his.
I'm Zechariah's brother, Zecharia. And I say
he's a bit of a hermit, so we only have this one image of him.
Exactly. Just him.
I haven't
with a
seen
mustache.
him in 6 years myself. We just exchange letters.
Yeah. He's very reclusive, and I, as a loving brother, allow him his privacy.
Okay, so chapter 10, City of the Gods. I'm just going to read the first paragraph, or the opening paragraph. It says, the story of the first settlement of Earth by intelligent beings is a breathtaking saga, no less inspiring than the discovery of America or the circumnavigation of Earth. It was certainly of greater importance, for as a result of this settlement, we and other civilizations exist today. It opens up with Marduk's reasoning for traveling to Earth, according to, I guess, the tablets here. So it says, when from the heavens for assembly you shall descend, there shall be a rest place for the night to receive you all. I will name it Babylon, the gateway of the gods.
And so then it goes into the reasoning for it, which it's kind of just no reason at all. In the deep above, where you have been residing, the kingly house of above have I built. Now a counterpart of it I shall build in the below. I'm just making another one. Fuck it.
You go, this place is cool, but we need a summer house.
Right. Obviously.
Yeah, and just
there could have been a really cool argument that Sitchin could have made there, where it's like, the reason they said the second station, he does talk about like the resources, but he could have gone on this whole thing about how, like, you know, Marduk had been around for so fucking long that, you know, it kind of it got into a situation that we're going to approach at some point where they've exhausted their fossil fuels.
Right.
And they're like, well, fuck, let's go find some more.
Yeah, what Sitchin explains that this wasn't supposed to be just a quick visit, but a permanent home away from home.
Right. Fuck it, let's make another.
Yeah, home base.
And this is where we get into the fact that when they first came to Earth, Earth was in the midst of an ice age.
Well, that was in the second glacial period.
Right. So, hold on.
And, you know, we talked about this before the episode, but this chapter has the but whys.
Yeah.
And
right.
this owes a little bit to the stuff that Roland was talking about earlier. It was like, you know, how could this planet, you know, survive without like a sun, basically, in closest proximity? So then we think about, you know, different forms of life that could exist in the universe.
Right. Non-carbon based.
So Sitchin goes, they searched, no doubt, for a place with a relatively temperate climate where simple shelters would suffice and where they could move about in light working clothes rather than in heavily insulated suits. So I said, why?
What?
They must have had search for water for drinking, washing, and industrial purposes, as well as to sustain the plant and animal life needed for food. Why?
Yeah.
Like,
why don't they have a...
if all of the other planets are so fucking different in our solar system, how is it that Marduk and Earth have conditions that the Nephilim find desirable? If that makes any sense. Like,
no, yeah. Why don't they have the...
just what we know about the cosmos, even at the time that Sitchin's writing, why would another planet need resources from Earth?
Yeah. they're still running on like we said before. They're the fucking cowboys of outer space. They're still running on fossil fuels and natural.
I mean,
gas.
there's all this shit like it on the moon that like we don't.
Why don't they have
need.
Daniel? What was that fucking object, dude, in Star Trek that they used? It was like a microwave, and they'd push like a few buttons, and it would spit out.
Replicator, dude.
Thank you. Fucking. Why don't they have a goddamn replicator? Bloop bloop bloop. Fucking turkey time.
Dude, they need
Because they're still burning fossil fuels, baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say they need petroleum.
Yeah, they need
They
petroleum.
probably still have money too. Haha, those savages.
Yeah.
Anu bucks. Hey,
Yeah.
can I borrow 5 news from you? Oh, I only got an N, little man.
Yeah. It says here that the Nephilim would hardly have ignored another need, the source for fuel and energy. And on Earth, petroleum has been a versatile and abundant source of energy, heat, and light, as well as a vital raw material for which countless of essential goods are made.
In the 70s.
Right.
The Industrial Revolution.
Now it kind of
And then
fucked.
you just follow that up by like saying like why the why the Near East, why modern day Iran, Iraq, and these areas.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently the Nephilim are scouting around. Not only has Earth got what they
Sniffing
want,
around.
but they want, they're lazy. They want easy access to a bunch of it. So
That's true. I mean,
he
there
first
is
talks about how
anything to say they couldn't have gotten all of these resources from another damn planet. Why?
he's like, there's like 3 places pretty much where there's a decent amount of
Water.
like there's river sources and petroleum sources. So he said the Indus Valley was probably a place to last because it's not an area where oil can be found. The Nile Valley was probably given a second place because there's oil, hard to get to though. But in the land of the 2 rivers, Mesopotamia, that shit's everywhere. We're still fighting wars over that shit.
Yeah. Right. Way to go.
But so that's all cool, right? But it's like, if these guys are so fucking advanced, wouldn't they just have technology to extract that shit? Just send down the space laser as we're passing by, and then we'll just suck it all up through a hyper tube or something and call it good.
But like that's again
we
falling
need to
into
make the Anunnaki and make them fucking mine for us.
That's
And then the
that's
Anunnaki
making
are
the
like,
heavy assumption
"Wait a
of
minute, we gotta
like
trick up our sleep, which we'll get to the next episode.
Right.
But
I mean, you're falling into the logic trap yourself, Daniel. You're making the heavy assumption that like based on the Nephilim's capabilities of space travel, they should already have access to all of this hoity-toity, fancy pants, advanced shitola. There really is no standard. There really is no standard.
So staying in my little
say.
circular logic of reason, oops. A little later in the book, or later in this chapter, he talks about like where Eden is.
Right.
And so he goes back to the Bible and talks about the network of 4 rivers or whatever. And the name of the 3rd river was Hiddekel, Tigris, and it is the one which floweth towards the east of Assyria. And the 4th was the Euphrates or the Euphrates. So then, while opinions regarding the identity of the first 2 rivers, Pishon, abundant, and Gibbon, which gushes forth, are inconclusive, there's no uncertainty regarding the other 2 rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates. It's like, let's not even try to find these other rivers. Let's not say, hey, there's like 7 rivers near the fucking Tigris and Euphrates.
Fuck them.
And maybe it's this one. Maybe it's this one. No, there's none of that. Just like, we don't know. Or like, I don't know. It's not worth investigating, even though I'm going to fucking break down, all this like old school, like ancient pottery and shit and like interpret all of it. But I won't have due diligence to try to like look at a fucking map and go, maybe it was here.
No.
Maybe this the one.
Pisha.
Fuck you. God, it just angers me, man. Just like these moments where he just could really just, fucking sell his fucking argument.
Yeah.
And he goes, It's okay. Back to the Babylonians.
Do you get to some point, like when he's writing this book or these chapters, like he just gets tired of trying to because he would have to keep on going. Well, he would have to keep on delving deeper into a lot of these all this information, and wouldn't just be like if he's making a point, then he'd have to prove have proof of that argument or whatever.
More work,
and then proof of that.
Because talking about the guy who wrote a series of 6 books.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe he goes into more detail.
Amazing volume of all we need to know.
Imagine.
Because I guarantee that about
we haven't gotten to
96% of the stuff he's going to talk about in this book does not come up in his following books.
I haven't.
You know what? I can only make the assumption that if he writes the following books like this, it's going to be just a lot more fucking shallow assumptions on.
Well, he opens up his second book. I think I talked about this in the first episode that we did on this, but he starts talking about the fucking Epic of Gilgamesh, and he's looking for the Tree of Life.
Oh,
okay.
And so Stairway to Heaven's so it's going to come back to some of the stuff I guess Adapa and Enoch and all those dickheads that were supposed to go up into the heavens or whatever. But in his so yeah, right. I guess he would have to keep deep diving into bullshit. But then he
had plenty of
tries to support his argument. And I talked about this earlier with you guys when he's talking about how there's the texts do in fact mention that some of the Abgal, which are it's an epithet for the gods, the Abgal who navigated the spaceships were dressed as fish. One text dealing with Ishtar's divine journeys quotes her. Basically, she's trying to find a downed submarine or whatever, or a downed spaceship that's now in the water. But there's no mention of fish stuff. And then he's like, "Okay, let's just in the same paragraph, some random Greek dickhead transmitted legends regarding Oannes, a god who made his appearance from." A sea which bordered Babylonia in the first year of the descent of kingship from heaven. And then Barosius reported that though Oannes looked like a fish, he had a human head under the fish head. He had feet like a man under the fish tail. And his language was
it sounded like a person cosplaying as a fish. I don't understand. But then he goes, some kind of fish furry.
Then there are the 3 Greek historians through whom we know of what this Barosius guy wrote. So you've got he said, she said bullshit, but then he doesn't go in to talk about these Greek historians and how they affirm that Barosius even wrote this. And he would just need a paragraph to do this. He wouldn't really need enough time, devote a whole chapter to it. There's just so many missed opportunities for him to just go, okay, here's this claim. A little snippet of how I know this. No. And you can go look up the rest.
Nope.
But he doesn't do that throughout this fucking book. And so this is why people don't believe in the Anunnaki, man. They still keep going to church. It's fucking bullshit.
because motherfuckers can't cite for shit. Yeah, apparently.
I think. I mean, we mentioned that before. He could have had any sort of citations. I don't see them anywhere in this fucking book.
Yeah, I said in the first episode this was a compilation of his notes. I take that back. Where the fuck are his references? Come on, man. This is trying to get away from making trying to stay objective here, right? With this, but. There's just not enough supporting information that you would expect for a book of this goddamn breadth.
And so, importantly, though, also the placement of these cities of the gods. He did do a neat little job talking about
it's good reading. It's interesting.
Why would they place these sites here? And he started relating it to the geography and the lay of the land. He's like, okay, here's these rivers.
Right.
Here's these mountains. These mountain peaks, dominate the landscape. So they'd be something you could sight into.
Sure.
And then with the specific layout of the sites themselves, they would align to kind of like allow like a landing strip kind of like a sky landing
They
strip
coincide
where
with
apparently
these-
the
with this
Nephilim
particular
needed
narrative.
a fucking runway to land and take off. But not take off actually, because it was like our like modern like rocket silos or whatever, because that's what
That's what they used.
the structures on the ziggurats that people made were supposed to be for. Little housings for the rockets, and then the eagles were there like protecting them. So the astronauts were there like doing shit. And then so all of these sites were also, they were not just like residences, but they were also Sitchin argues like mission control, like a la NASA, for the Nephilim coming to the Earth, like, because not only were rocket ships stored in these little places at these sites, but also the Mies or the Mez, however it's pronounced, but so which Sitchin argues are the spacesuits, and that commands were uttered from this space. And so, but I wonder about that, like if the Nephilim did their site choices so precise as to use features of the landscape to know where the fuck they're going, why do they need some dickhead on a radio tower going like, low to the left, too fast, you know, like.
You mean the divine communication boxes?
Yes. But so yeah, so like these were not just like, you know, residences for the gods when they came down. And then like fuck, and they're supposed to be like permanent residences. So like, why do we not at least have like Ninnersog, you know, hanging out, you know, over in Iran going like, wait guys, this is our oil. You know.
There were no other guys.
Yeah, why isn't
were the
Nanar going to
establishers.
OPEC meetings to renegotiate like the Anunnaki's fucking, you know, VIG on the world supply of oil?
Well, it's not like anyone outside of the Sumerians knew how to use that stuff. So
Do the Anunnaki still need us?
I mean, you know,
Dude, maybe the reptilians
there's
took
always got to be somebody that digs a ditch, that digs up the shit. So
Yeah, that's us, dude.
yep, you got it.
Yeah, so,
They're not gonna fucking do that. No way. That's
There's a bit here.
I mean, there is
So like once the Anunnaki got here, or the Nephilim got here rather,
yeah.
they put in work to make this at least the Tigris Euphrates area actually hospitable for living. You know, they drain marshes and stuff to try to like allegedly make water more potable. So the effort to dredge the beds of streams and tributaries to allow a better flow of the waters was intended to drain the marshes, obtain cleaner potable water, and implement controllable irrigation.
Sure.
But then I'm thinking about like humans that are humans that are living in Sumeria and in these areas over time, having to maintain a whole system of dikes and shit
Sure.
to control the flooding.
Right.
But there's
Because
no talk
they-
about
they
this, that the Anunnaki were doing it.
originally set foot in a swamp and then they drained it.
Well, yeah, they drained it, yeah.
But to do that, they
these
have to
rivers
have
are still going to flood
exactly.
and fuck up their.
They
like,
have to have
crops
their
and shit.
irrigation upkeep of their irrigation system to keep. This
So I guess the Nephilim weren't that fucking smart and couldn't figure out a system, or
maybe they were
seemed
just
stupid.
stubborn.
I don't know.
maybe.
Oh
No,
but going
I
on to
mean,
this,
you know,
so
like-
initially the Anunnaki, or sorry, the Nephilim, like you call them Anunnaki, those are the lower gods. But it's just
they got to settle in the
program because like there's kind of writ large as like the Anunnaki,
right. There's nothing
but the
specific
Nephilim-
past that.
when they talked about, initially they had water landings.
Yeah.
And then they would take a waterborne craft from that pod to go to the mainland. So I was like, why can't their just little ship just go, okay, turn on the little rotor and then fart over? But then they show in figure 128, it's like just like a regular boat. But in every other fucking context where he brings up boats, like they're sky boats, they're celestial boats, and I was like, well, why is this just a fucking boat then? Like,
yeah, why was it necessary for them to have landing strips if they were going to like land in water and then boat over to the
landing strips were later when they were like coming into like the landborne
areas,
which
they
we
first landed in the water,
where I was questioning why
terraformed it.
They would need to like a dry landing was preferable to a water landing.
Sure.
Because the only reason that like they did dry landings was to better protect or secure supplies that are coming in and out of the planet, but mostly in.
Yeah.
But it would also be to like not were all the cities aligned like on the coast?
Yeah, they're pretty close. Like some of them inland.
That actually goes sort of goes without saying, right? Most civilizations follow coastlines.
Yeah.
Well, I'm speaking specifically.
Where the water is.
Yes. But I'm generalizing.
Okay.
Like in this particular context, they follow the coastlines for available resources, generally speaking.
First, and then later on move inland.
Right. You so like those would be more like satellite locations, kind of thing.
Right on.
So, reading this nonsense again. Larsa was one of the cities they established that was inland. The establishment of Larsa launched a new phase in the settlement of Earth by the Nephilim. It marked the decision to proceed with the task for which they had come to Earth, which required the shipping to Earth of more manpower, tools, and equipment, and the return of valuable cargoes to the 12th planet. Splashdowns at sea were no longer adequate for such heavier loads.
Okay.
What?
Well, So like, are they saying are they saying, or Sitchin is stating that for them to take like larger amounts of resources, they had to send bigger ships, and those were just unable to make a waterfall or whatever in that aspect?
He continues. The climatic changes made the interior more accessible. It was time to shift the landing site to the center of Mesopotamia.
Climate?
What?
That's okay. So I was thinking in terms of size. I don't necessarily understand.
And also,
what
it was
the
more accessible.
The climate
like,
has to do.
Sea levels would have risen.
So the coast
then
would
they could have gotten like an even closer splashdown.
Yeah.
I just don't understand how like
the coastlines would have shrunk.
Landing on dry land suddenly became a preferable thing. Like,
I mean,
it sounds like Sitchin is just trying to account for early settlements.
No, you're right.
People may have made.
Again, he's massaging his theory into the data.
Well, yeah, but I just say like, okay, well, with the further adoption of agriculture and improvements in irrigation, people can move further inland.
Sure.
It fucking happens all the time.
Yep.
You have societies that are basically, maritime resource acquiring dudes. And then they figure out how to fucking farm and figure out how to irrigate stuff. And then they can start
access to
spreading out and then going like, well, fuck, we don't need as much fucking fish. We can just grow fucking barley and make beer and get hammered and have a good time. But if it's just the Nephilim on the planet, and they could always do these land touchdowns.
Now you're making an assumption there, Daniel, but okay. Because again, like they make the distinction in the amount of resources that they're able to harness or harvest, rather. That's the only and really not even understanding the physics of that. It's the only thing I can sort of try to rationalize that why they would try or need to move something further inland. If they wanted to get more shit, I would argue that it is safer and easier for them to land on dry land than it is in the middle of the ocean kind of stuff. Because I would think it would take a larger...
but they know where they're going.
Sure.
They can see it from space and go...
Okay, so maybe though. Here's the thing. Okay, the way that I can sort of like see that is in that. So the first people they sent in were scouts, and they sent them in to try to figure out what the hell is available.
Oh, now here you're making assumptions, Roland.
I am. Hey.
Call me out for my bullshit.
I
Fuck
will.
You, man.
You ain't gonna stop me.
Continue.
Can't stop. Won't stop. So
point that out real quick.
So okay, look,
kettle,
like
bitch.
after so like I think this kind of goes with I think this kind of goes with this narrative. After they've become established and they've tried to start amassing larger amounts of resources from the knowledge of what's available in the area. After they've scouted it out, they're able to more safely move further inland and I guess be more surgical. With
but they could be more surgical with their water lines, like land on the fucking river and then go, okay, we're here.
But again, like I'm not arguing that. What I'm sort of postulating is that with the increase in the amount of so think about it this way: you have like it's the difference between like a passenger plane and a cargo plane sort of thing.
No,
like
I get that.
They have
also these fuckers have a year to work with before they have to like launch off to go catch the fucking 12th planet again or whatever, like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And these dickheads already operate rocket ships, so and then they establish
maybe they need
cities,
motherships,
little puddle jumpers,
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
I don't know what the fucking Anunnaki's problem was.
So, like, I'm just thinking in terms of scale. Like, that's all.
No wonder we're so fucked up.
Well, it would be cool, but again, like, I'm just trying to think in terms of scale of what I would accept or what I would expect. Like, they would need and able to like transfer freight.
Yeah.
Transfer a larger amount of freight. Based on what we do. Based on we do. You know what? Like, that's the thing. There's no way we can fucking know for sure. Like, I am using our analogs
Sitchin is already
to try
proposing
to
with these water landings and them taking boats. They're already going against the current. They're going upstream.
Oh, that is super inefficient. But okay.
So it's like, why didn't they just initially start with
further up? Like, why didn't they stop? Why? Instead of fighting the current, like they should have actually settled further.
Yeah, because they're landing in the ocean and then they're riding up.
Maybe
like
because it doesn't matter. Their science is just that badass fucking cool or whatever. It doesn't matter.
Cool.
It ignores the physics.
It just goes, we're actually expending less energy because we can, splash down closer to the mouth of this river.
No,
where our sites are located.
This goes back to the theory of the interstellar Texans. Because it's kick ass and got more power. Who gives a fuck? Like, we're going to get what we need to get when we get there. And as long as it's more than what we spent to get started, who gives a shit? Like, we're awesome. I don't know. Obviously.
I think we should be wrapping up our thoughts on this because it seems like it's going to go on for a long time.
Obviously, I'm being an asshole. But
Interstellar Texans,
Grey Necks. All right, that's what I got.
Gregsons,
the little gray rednecks. No, like I'm not arguing any of your postulates here at all, Daniel. I think it is fucking ridiculous. It's absolutely there's no explanation to it, and he does not go into enough detail at all.
And even when he doesn't, like, because there's a lot of time he doesn't go into detail, but at least he says, oh, here's, text say.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing to say, there's no, fringe scholars. There's no ancient texts that say this is what's going on, dude. It's fucking...
Yeah, because he's an island of one. There's no one else. Like, from what you've explained to me over the years about Sitchin Ray, because you've told me about him for quite some time, he's a thesis unto himself.
For his time, sure. I mean, now it's like...
No, now we can watch fucking Ancient Aliens on Animal Planet or whatever, the History Channel. Whatever the fuck. Yeah. No, like, everybody, like, you have... Was it last year where you had the quote unquote raid of Area 51, or I forgot. I don't remember. That was last year. Like, it's not
it's more popular now. Back then, he seemed a bit. It was more. I would say it was a bit more.
It was a bit more polarizing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
like you could ruin your life, like your career.
Well, not necessarily. But before this, you had Eric von Däniken. So I mean, like this idea wasn't
what was his name?
Brand new necessarily. Is that Eric von Däniken?
Bob Lazar?
No. This is after that.
No. Okay, but all the same, like I'm talking about in the idea. Oh, okay, but I was trying to use it as a reference to like something that. Like you have your viewpoints, your standpoints that you're trying to go with, and it fucks your life.
No. But the thing is that the whole Bob Lazar thing, the whole Bob Lazar thing is that he was exposing things that the government was in charge of. So I mean, yeah.
But I mean, okay, like I guess
like these ideas were kind of harmless. No, there's no government attached to these ideas necessarily.
No, but there's a stigma. There's a stigma associated.
Well, the only thing was that it was pretty popular at the time. Eric von Däniken came out with his book, and he was like just focusing on the fact that look at all these similarities throughout the cultures, and there had to be some kind of one parallel between all of them. Like, there's one source from this. So there's aliens. There's not a specific alien. There's not like a There's nothing.
They're from Mars.
There could be anyone. But there's
ancient astronauts.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Sitchin is focusing this to a certain beings and kind of telling the backstory to this, to their eventually becoming. This is almost like a prequel to Eric von Däniken's book. All right, so that's basically what I in my opinion, what this is.
Okay,
this is not necessarily like these weren't like necessarily
just
life.
To clarify, von Däniken did write
Chariots of the Gods.
Right, that was before this.
Yeah, this was before this. Yeah.
Okay. No.
And this was turned into a TV show and all that kind of shit. So yes, go ahead.
This was life-changing to somebody. Whoever gave this review on the front page of front cover of my book. One of the most important books on Earth's roots ever written. East-West Magazine.
I have that here.
I read them all the time. Yeah, they come to my fucking doorstep every Sunday night. I had the Times for a little while, but I found that the East-West Magazine just really gets to the issues.
Library Journal said this is exciting, credible, radical, provocative, and compelling. So
yeah, there's ellipses between each of those words, so they could have taken that from like a whole page.
Heavyweight scholarship. For thousands of years, priests, poets, and scientists have tried to explain how life began. Now, a recognized scholar has come forth with a theory that is the most astonishing of all.
Recognized? You don't say.
I
mean, these were popular books. Don't get me wrong; these were fucking popular books.
No, it was one of the most important books.
Oh, important books. Sorry, important books specifically.
You stand corrected. You sit.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's wrap up this radical, most important heavyweight book of all time. These 5 chapters.
Right. So we've still got another.
Yeah, we have chapters 11 through 15 still coming your way.
Yep.
We'll give our final thoughts on the book as a whole after that, and we'll also throw out. I've only found one article so far criticizing this book.
Was it an Amazon review?
No, it wasn't. No, it was actual essay that someone wrote.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I found that same one.
Interesting.
Where he
like a half a page
within the first like 2. No, it's. I don't remember how long it is, but it's the guy like makes an attempt. Mm-hmm. he really tries to address like the problems with this and stuff.
Interesting.
And I would say in the first 2 paragraphs, using Sitchin's own words against him, you know, he discredited everything Sitchin wrote.
I mean,
which we've been doing this whole time.
Yeah,
you know?
but
But
not to
thing
like
where,
denigrate that necessarily, but that's a low
in the author's
bar.
note where it must be borne in mind that all of the translations consulted, of which the principal ones are listed at the end of the book, are just that, translations or interpretations.
Right.
And then he talks about how he's like, I've looked at the Hebrew source and parallel Sumerian and Akkadian texts and tales to come up with what I believe is a most accurate rendering. And so this guy wrote that essay, just brings it up very early on. He's like, see, like you, like just right there, like this is just an interpretation. Like this is, this is his bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's funny.
It smells like it.
All right. So we'll be back with part 3 of Books of the Strange. The conclusion to Zecharia Sitchin's The 12th Planet. Anything to add before we sign off? Before you get into this whole diatribe of nonsense.
No, we'll save that for the
that for the last one.
Yeah,
okay.
for the last one when we go to
Okay, so that's it for tonight. I hope you were Daniel and Roland, you guys have really carried these episodes along.
I hope that's not a bad thing.
That's a very good thing, actually.
I feel like I might have had something to say.
No, I mean, regarding the history and whatever he's bringing up as far as culturally and all that kind of stuff, far above my pay grade. Like that's not where I go to. I just give me the gist of the story, give me the meat of it, and let me be on my fucking way. The details hold little to no importance to me whatsoever. But I still enjoy reading about it, but it doesn't really like click in my head necessarily, unless I multiple readings, a little bit more intense.
Any way you hack this,
bringing out a diagram on my whiteboard to like connect all the dots and stuff like that. That's the only way I'm going to do it, and I frankly don't have time for that. So my name is Ray.
This is Roland,
and Pacific Northwest Studios.
This is Daniel.
We'll see you you'll hear us on the next episode coming up. Next, I'm excited about this next chapter, Mutiny of the Anunnaki. That sounds like, just the title alone sounds exciting. So you'll hear from us next time. So
peace.
See you, dudes.
Religious come into my house. Hey, it's ridiculous. I had some kind of a rectal probe. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.